In this past week, I've been diligently working on this 2D platformer game. This is a game that I've had in mind for quite a while and finally decided to take the plunge. I got the idea to start working on this project after seeing Expedition 33. It was a great game made by just 30 people, and as good if not better than a AAA title. I thought to myself, there was no excuses left to make. I have the talent, I go to college for game design, so why not make a great game myself, just like they did. When I was thinking of nice looking games, my first thought was Octopath Traveler. I've always loved the look of those games, or Square Enix games in general, and thought the pixel art route would be a good route for a solo dev like me to tackle, especially due to the easier workload. After referencing some sprites, I came up with this character. I am personally really happy with how he looks and is far better than what I've ever made in my old games. With animations, instead of going down the frame by frame route, I thought it'd be more efficient and just more fun in general to rig my player and do joint movement animations. This is what I came up with. I have never seen pixel art animated this way, and probably for good reason. It kinda looks a little odd at first, especially if you're used to frame by frame animations, but honestly, I really like how this turned out and I think this character has a lot of charm to it. My little trick for doing these animations is that I separated each of the body parts. For example, the hair in the idle animation goes over the head to try to give life and bounciness to the hair, even though you're just standing still. For this game, I want to have really easy controls, but with a lot of different options and variety. I have recently taken up calisthenics in my personal life, and thought it would be cool if I made controls around that premise. First things first, I added running and jumping. With running, I made it so you can start at a slow speed, but progressively accelerate over time. Once at top speed, I have a fancy little trail that follows the player. With jumping, I decided to have the jump height be determined based on how long you press the jump key. For my next mechanic, I referenced Super Mario Bros. And added the famous wall jumping and sliding. How the sliding works is I have a transform object that works as a mini radar. I gave the object a collider, and if you're off the ground and the collider touches a tile, it causes the player to slow down and then a sliding animation to occur. While the sliding animation is playing and you press jump, you'll be immediately accelerated off the wall and get flung at a 45-ish degree angle. I want top speed to be a big emphasis on this game, hence the trail, so I set the player to max speed right after the wall jump, which can cause you to keep up your pace. Except I might change this to after 3 wall jumps after further consideration. Finally, for now, is the start of the calisthenics implementation. I wanted to add more at a further date, however, for now I decided to add handstands and a front handspring. You may be thinking that this is completely random, but it's actually used in Mario vs. Donkey Kong as a way to get greater height. Mario vs. Donkey Kong was my main inspiration for this. How handstands work is that I have a conditional called is handstanding. While that is active, I play the handstand animation and the player's speed is stuck at a very low rate. You toggle the handstand by pressing downwards on the controller or the keypad, and while handstanding, if you jump, the jump logic regarding how high you will go will still be in effect, but be doubled, allowing for the player to reach greater heights, but at the cost of stopping your acceleration. Making this acceleration was a new thing for me, since in my previous game, the movement was a little bit static. But what was my previous game, you might be asking? Well, let me tell you. 5 Dice was a puzzle platformer that I made before this project. In 5 Dice, you travel across 12 hours worth of fun, but extremely challenging and precise platforming and puzzle solving. You only have 5 actions before you run out of moves, which adds a little extra sweat to the gameplay. Since this game was my first project, it's not the most polished, but I still think it's a fun experience for anyone who is interested or wants just to support my development in general. You can buy the game on Steam or on a Steam Deck, and if you do, I hope you have a great time and the link is in the description. Now, shameless plug-in aside, let's continue on with this video, shall we? Next up, I decided to tackle designing my first area. I decided that the first area in the game should be these woods, but how did I make this beautiful environment anyway? First, I started with the basic tile set. I created 11 tiles, 6 being corner tiles, and 5 just being standard directional tiles. This was a relaxing and fun process, besides creating the inside corners. I had to make them seamlessly loop with these special patterns that I had on this dirt, which was a little tricky. Next up was the background. My original idea was to have a fancy parallax background, so I proceeded to make a front, middle, and back layer. It wasn't too complicated. I just drew up some trees and made the ones in front darker than the ones behind. I have yet to get the parallax working, so for now it's just a still image. But hey, it looks super cool. Finally, now that I have the art portion of the graphics done, I went back into Unity and got to work on all of the engine-related graphics. I built this project with a universal render pipeline already installed, so adding lighting was as easy as adjusting the global light, then placing a few more lights onto the scene. Due to me assigning sprite lit default to all my assets ahead of time, all of these seamlessly work with my lighting system. For a final touch, I used the built-in post-processing and added some effects I liked. For a nice little detail, I proceeded with using Unity's particle system. With this, I easily created a nice rain effect. And by easy, I mean it took me 2 hours since I couldn't figure out how to get the particles how I wanted with this plethora of options I had to navigate through. Now that a nice environment was made, I noticed things seemed a little dark, and it was hard to see the platforms. Instead of adding more lights, I wanted to keep the dark atmosphere, but create a new object that could be used to show where to jump next. For this, I decided to draw up 2 mushrooms for the forest area. After that, in order to make sure they are visible, I added lights to each of the mushrooms, and it was as easy as just placing them around my level from there. The last thing I decided to start was normal mapping. Normal mapping is a way for me to give the pipeline engine instructions on where my light goes and how they shade. With this special color wheel, the direction that the color represents is how the lighting looks in the game. As of now, I've only normal mapped the mushrooms and tiles, and I'm using automatic normal mapping on Unity for the player for now until I get time to normal map him myself. Overall, it adds a subtle and barely noticeable effect, but it's very obvious once I turn it off. That is all my progress on week 1 of developing this game. I can't promise that development is going to stay at this rapid rate due to me working a job and being a college student, but I will try my best to dish out more content. If you do want to stay updated on this game's development process, there are 2 ways to do so. First of all, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be notified on my newest uploads. On top of that, I also created a Discord server for my community to join. We have some members already, and it's just a great place to ask questions about the game, give me some ideas about the development of the game or any features you all might want, or if you just want to hang out with your fellow gamers. Until next time, I hope you all have a good rest of your day.